Once, when the world was different, but still very much the same, there was a land within a land, a desert within a wasteland, and there were people who lived in these lands and who walked side by side, one not knowing the other. The desert people knew much sustenance from the land. They lived simply, joyfully, in a place where time and money had no meaning. They gave of themselves and received what they needed when they needed it, effortlessly. But in the desert, there was no water. The desert people gleaned just enough fluid to stay alive from the moisture that gathered overnight on the leaves of the scrub that dotted the desert. The people of the wasteland knew no sustenance from the land, for they lived on concrete. To them, life was hard work and a struggle. They always spent their lives running to catch up. But through their mechanized systems, water came in adequate quantities to sustain them. The languages these people spoke were foreign to each other's ears. They couldn't understand one another. And the wasteland people feared the desert people because they had been taught to hate anything they could not understand, to distrust anything that was different from themselves. So although the desert people and the wastelanders looked alike, they were different. They couldn't understand how or why the other could survive. Life went on this way for many thousands of years. And then a time came when a curiosity, a deep, unnameable desire, began to stir in the wastelanders. A distant memory, a feeling, a need to be one, led some of them to explore the ways and language of the desert people. For indeed, they had all once been one people. On one bright sunny day, one of the wastelanders came in contact with a desert person while venturing out on the fringes of the wasteland. He was feeling good that day, open to the possibilities of life, when he saw the desert woman. He was fascinated by her free energy. It reminded him of something he once knew and felt. This memory stirred him that day, to the point where he actually approached her, smiled at her, touched her, and even went so far as to offer her a drink of water from a flask he was carrying, not remembering that she had never known water the way he knew it. She drank from his cup, and they looked in each other's eyes and remembered each other. She drank with a boundless thirst, for her body was drinking in an essential life force that it had grown accustomed to living without. They came together there on the edge of the wasteland many times when they would hear a call that came to each from a silence within. Each time she drank as though she couldn't get enough, as though she might replenish her parched body at each meeting. He too was replenishing himself, basking in the memory of his life as a desert person. Parts of him came alive that he had forgotten ever existed. It was a thrill for him to be more wholly alive, if it was only briefly for these encounters there on the edge. He had grown so accustomed to the ways of the wasteland. He had become somewhat comfortable there, especially before the memory, before the encounters. Now, however, he would think of her out there and dream, sometimes, of being there with her. And she would join in these dreams, and they would be excited and happy. In these dreams, they went beyond the wasteland and the desert to a place neither of them knew, a place where life pulsed with a wholeness and a oneness no one had ever known. But between dreams, he would forget all about her, forget that he had ever been a desert person. He put all his energy into showing up for the expectations of the wasteland. In the busy, scheduled life of the wasteland, there was not time for dreams, seldom time to wander on the edge, and many times he didn't hear the call. And sometimes he would hear, and he would remember, and he would want to go to meet the desert woman and dream and remember. He would go, but often he forgot to bring her the precious water she had discovered when she met him and drunk from his cup. She was always happy to see him, for her body was thirsty and anticipating the joy she felt when she satiated that thirst. Sometimes he not only forgot the water, but he also forgot to smile, to touch her, to look in her eyes. He forgot to remember that there was time for everything. Because in the wasteland, time was money, and there wasn't enough time or money to do all the things the wasteland expected of you, let alone walk and talk and love way out there on the edge. She would always respond to the call, looking forward to seeing him because she loved his smile, his eyes, and his touch. The thirst he had awakened in her body was ever present now, and the desert could not satisfy it. There was no water there. Sometimes she encountered other wastelanders who offered her a drink, but she would remember his smile, his touch, and the way she felt when she drank with him, and she would wait for him. But try as he might, he could not seem to release the idea that he had no time, and he would respond to the call out of a deep desire to be free, but then would remember, or forget to remember, and would go so far as to offer her a drink, but then become distracted and walk away, barely saying goodbye. And she would watch him disappear into the wasteland and wonder and wait.